Yeah, not a lot of schematic changes. It's something I actually got to experience as a GA when I was at Pitt. We played at Iowa, an unbelievable atmosphere. That's the NFL team of the state, right? And you see Coach Ferentz has done an unbelievable job. But there aren't a lot of changes in what you do for your team except for preparing them for those moments, letting them know what it's going to look like when they enter, right? How it's going to be a little bit different, the setting's a little bit different, and the visiting crowd, or really the home crowd, is right on top of the visiting stands. So it's a special place. It's a fun venue, so we're excited to see it. Good to see you. Yeah, for us, it's a combination of connection, and then just we studied the book Captain's Class this off season, and it just talks about the variety of leaders that exist, right? Like Tim Duncan, a lot of people don't recognize as an unbelievable leader, and it wasn't always the most vocal, but it was a little bit more about his approach, the relationships that he had, how well he knew the people that he was around. So we focus on that. We go and do strengths and weaknesses of our team. We have some really eye-opening, self-awareness talk. You try to tell people the truth. Not everybody always wants the truth, but a lot of those things went into it, and then spend a lot of time together, right? Whether it's whitewater rafting or playing paintball, right? Just getting some opportunities to connect outside of football. Yeah, we did in Central Oregon this year. Yeah. I think he has a really good feel for it. He's gotten more and more comfortable with, what power he has in that position at quarterback, of being able to make sure that we get in the right play. We give our quarterbacks a lot of answers, and he's super comfortable doing that. So that's always a plus. Even in his limited opportunities last year when he was on the field, he was able to take advantage of some of those moments and put us in positive plays and operate at a really high level. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, we're super conscientious of that in advance, of making sure that you're not overextending, operate within the rules. But yeah, that'll be an interesting date, and I think some people will probably sit on the sidelines and watch others play, and then some will probably hop in. Not to get strategic for us, but I think you got to kind of figure out what's the right play, and then I think there's still a lot of concern about what's and some interpretation that has to be figured out. Anytime there's a new rule, is how does that rule adjust? How does it adapt? How does it change? Actually, what we have to be able to do. So part of that we all got to figure out here. But one thing we've been able to do is what we say we do. Yeah, I feel like we got strong relationships, but there's always changes. You never know, right? All we can do is being open and honest about what we do know, and be great communicators from that standpoint.
Hey Dan, I covered Penn State when I was Bob Fonders. And I don't want to get too far ahead.
Penn State with a Bucky's hat.
Yeah, yeah.
That's unique.
Another Bucky hat. Hey, so late September.
Yeah.
In there for a night whiteout.
Yeah.
You've been around a lot of big games, a lot of big atmospheres. Can you just talk about the challenge of maybe that game? I know it's early in the season and maybe an opportunity, especially since you've seen this team fairly recently.
Right. Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is the team, right? There's some great players on that team. Coach Franklin's teams are always really well coached. They always present a lot of tough schematic, challenges, and when you have the talent that they have, that makes it tough. And then when you throw that in a hostile environment, with a crowd that is going to be into that game, in a stage that's going to be really big in college football, it's going to be a unique challenge. Ryan can bomb a drive. He can hit a drive. I think I can do the others, depending on the day, if you ask me. But neither one of us are great golfers. There's a reason we both coach. But I'll say, like, sometimes sitting in our seat, you meet other people, you see other coaches, and there's like this thought that you have to be enemies. the truth is I have a lot of respect for Ryan, the job he's done, the pressure that he's adapted and been able to overcome, and the relationship he has with his family, married to his high school sweetheart. There's a lot of qualities that I admire about Ryan and the job that he's done there at Ohio State, the work that he does. And it's just, it's impressive to see that you can kind of stay even keel in a high pressure environment. So even though we're competitors, he wants to go have success and beat us if, given the opportunity. The same's for us, given the opportunity to play him. But that doesn't mean you can't have respect and admiration for the job that he's done there and the way that he handles himself.
Dan coach with, under great coaches and relationships with good coaches. How much do you try to see kind of what those guys have done at their places and kind of in their brains and see the trends that they follow and what helps them be successful?
Yeah, I always try to challenge myself to visit with guys and see if there's any secrets that they have or anything that's been really good for them. This offseason, the first opportunity that I got to speak. I was at Georgia for a long time. You really don't talk to Clemson. But I got the opportunity to call. I just kind of shot Dabo a random text, because I do think he's done an unbelievable job there at Clemson for a long amount of time, and had a lot of visit. We visited for 45 minutes, and it was great that he would give me that time to kind of just share some of his insights of what he's been able to do. But I'm always challenging myself to find different ways. It doesn't mean you're going to do it, but just to hear somebody else's perspective, how they do things. Obviously, I visit with Coach Smart a lot. There's probably nobody that's influenced my career as much as Kirby has. Coach Norvell, Coach Saban. I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of great ones, and I tap in a lot on those lines to be able to figure out, hey, is there something else that we can do?
Mm-hmm. Does that year maybe show up at all? That year that he's been through this a little bit before?
Well, it's part of his story, right? It's part of his experience. I think he'll definitely be able to pull from those opportunities. This isn't going to be the first time that he's getting thrown in the fire, given that opportunity. If he steps out there on the field for us, it's not going to be a brand new experience. So I know he's learned from those moments. On the same note, I think he's learned from being able to sit back and watch somebody else operate. So it'll definitely be a piece of that for him.
When you start that young in that type of environment,
Mm-hmm.
are there maybe habits that you can maybe form that you guys maybe have to break?
Yeah, I would. The coach's job is to try to get guys to the best of their ability, right? Get them to where they can become the best versions of themselves. And I'd say every player that's came to our program, even Bo Nix, when he came to our program, we sat down, we watched film and said, hey, here's some things that I think if you attack, this is going to make you a much better player. And Bo did an unbelievable job of that. Dante, some of those same things. But I'd say some of your early habits don't necessarily carry over to later on, right? But as long as you're learning from them and you have great, self-awareness.
When NIL first started, one of the concerns was put introduce fun into a locker room.
Yeah.
Get introduce chemistry with coaches. We're a few years into it now. How have you experienced or seen in other places those two things?
Our players have handled it really well, and I think that the key is have conversations about it, right? Like we've been really open and honest with our guys that you don't get to carry your bank account or how many stars you have. You don't carry that out on the football field. You have to go perform every day. You have to earn it every single day. There's a level of maturity, and some of that's learned, right, over time. Guys might make a mistake and spend time talking about it and create animosity, but we've been really fortunate not to experience a lot of that at our place.
You get this trend of guys get big deals before they play.
Yeah, it's a challenge, right? It's a challenge. There's a lot of positives around NIL. If there's a negative that exists, one of them is that you're removing that chip from a guy's shoulder at sometimes. And so you have to find people that are intrinsically motivated. They want to be their best. And sometimes, it comes before they have the opportunity to really prove what they're worth. But if you're looking for the right people, a lot of times you can circumvent that. Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, his dad's got a storied history there. Kyler's had a great offseason. I've seen him grow every single year here. I'm excited to see what he's able to do in our offense this year. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten faster. I think he's become a guy that fights for the ball, which is important. And he has the skill set. So we're excited to see what comes. Yeah, I think our staff, Lisa Peterson, the group that's kind of helping lead that for us, has had a lot of success so far of not having a lot of hiccups. But again, there's going to be issues when there's new things that are introduced and new ways to figure it out. Fortunately enough for us, I don't think that's been a huge hiccup at this point. But at some point, if it is, then we'll navigate it. But the deals that have been presented so far, I think, have all gone through.
Going back to Dante for directly, as a head coach, if like down to the penny or whatever, how much are you delegating as far as like the difference?
I think you have to, for us at least, I want to make sure that I'm involved in all those situations, right? You're responsible for every piece of the program. Now you have people you trust. You give opportunities to be involved in that process. But for us, I limit our coaches' involvement from that. I limit a lot of our staff's involvement because I don't want that to be something that affects how they coach a player, how their expectation for this guy to perform. Like, again, we want to go earn it on the practice field. So really, between myself and our chief of staff, we kind of handle, most of the details there.
Dan, going back to Dante for a moment, you don't see too many quarterbacks transfer and sit, particularly those who are starters, particularly those who are lead guys. Even that was understood with Dylan coming in, and that was something desired. Does it speak to his ability to trade to be possessed and do that when very few, if any, others have done that?
Yeah, thinking back to the year that Dante made that decision, we were pretty open and honest with each other, talking about, okay, we're the best quarterbacks in college football. And if you think back to that year, we recognized that, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, all these guys had experience and had time. And it wasn't so much about how fast I can get on the field. It was about what can I learn, and when I get there, what's it look like, right? Jaden Daniels, a lot of these guys were like fifth-year quarterbacks, fourth-year quarterbacks. So I think he recognized that. And so to me, a level of maturity to say, hey, it's not so much about how fast you touch the field. It's about what you do when you get there and what it looks like, who's around you, what kind of support do you have.
And recruiting has been kind of a moving target these last couple of years. It's kind of how much has changed. Is there a system that you could see implemented? Like, is there something that you would like to see implemented that would make things easier for you, for your staff, and kids that you're
I've said since the beginning that it's all about adapting, right? Because we have to continue to adapt. I think at some point we've got to say, okay, is this working, and give it time to work too before we continue to enforce and create new rules. Because every time you do something new, you create something new, you let some more toothpaste out of the tube and you can't put it back in. And so right now there's, I do credit, Tony and the leadership that we have at the top of college football to try to find some solutions. But the truth is, what happened is, 4 years ago or whatever, this got let out of the tube, and now people are trying to figure out how to fix it, and it's tough to fix. So I'm not big on, here's my idea to change college football. It's more about I'm going to adapt to what the rules are and be ready to adapt again when they change.
what do you have to do to be able to adapt and kind of continue to just be?
Just know that yesterday has nothing to do with tomorrow, and continue to challenge yourself to say, think outside of the box, find new ways to do things. Yeah, I think we have a heightened awareness, of guys that are performing really well across college football. Try to be on top of it as soon as that they become available. But certainly, you pay attention more now, almost like an NFL model of what guys are doing, across college football.
I asked that just for context on Dylan Thieneman, who was someone you guys played against.
Yeah.
Been in the Big Ten for 2 years. I guess just how did that awareness change over time and to the point where you did get into the
Tell me more what you're saying. Like, we knew Dylan, like he was we do snakes, like best players that we're playing against each week. And, for us, Dylan was a snake whenever we went to that game. Like, that's a guy that we got to, be aware of where he's at, what he does. So certainly us being familiar playing against Dylan was an advantage of knowing what kind of player he was, and then realizing what some of our needs were. But when you really get to know Dylan, that's when you fall in love with Dylan, what kind of worker he is, what he does. And those are the things that tape don't tell. But you can figure it out quickly through the relationship, hopping on the phone, having the guy on the visit, being around his family. He's got an unbelievable family that are super supportive of him, but also challenging. They're not just going to give him the easy way out, and that's developed who Dylan is. I think Dylan would tell you part of the reasons he's had the success he's had is because of his older brother, right? And, that experience of growing up in that house. So I think you're always aware of guys you're playing. It certainly helped us that we got to see Dylan first, in person, and be able to evaluate him playing him that season. Yeah.
In today's world of college sports, where
Yeah.
Whether it's coming as a walk-on originally or staying through everything he has last year.
Yeah, I mean, the guy showed up to a walk-on tryout, right? He came out on our team as a safety. Really us as a coaching staff, we're evaluating after every scrimmage. This guy's like leading our team in tackles, but he can't cover anybody, right? So we're like, oh, let's try moving him to linebacker. It's been an unbelievable fit, but if you doubt Bryce, he's going to prove you wrong, right? And he's just continued to do that every time in his career. And I'd say he would tell you that, thank you, coach, for not giving me the easiest path, because we haven't made it easy. He had to go earn it every day. Made him run around a lot of field goal posts for hitting guys in practice. But all those things, I think, have translated into the guy that won the Burlsworth, that got drafted in the MLB, and I think it just speaks volumes about his character. Any one of us would be proud to be able to have a guy like Bryce Betcher on our team. In your family, he's wired the right way.
Yeah, so the two-sport rule is related to Bryce and others, track guys, it's having basketball story. Now that there's revenue share, now that there's roster limits, should that two-sport rule where the scholarship would come away from football by default to the store-away guy, is that antiquated? Is that needed anymore?
I don't know. I haven't put a lot of thought into it because it's still the rule. So, yeah, maybe.
Dan, what have your impressions been of DeCorian Moore in his first year?
Yeah, extremely talented. This guy loves ball, and he works really, really hard at it. He's a perfectionist. He wants to be great, and he is pushing himself to become that. So he's made some plays in practice that are extremely impressive. Obviously, he had unbelievable high school film, and he's a fun kid to be around, right? Like, a lot about being a great player is being a great teammate, and DeCorian's that.
You game planned against a really good freshman receiver, obviously, in Jeremiah last year.
Yeah.
What does it take to play at that position as a freshman in college?
Well, be the best on your team, right? Be a guy that when you step on the field, you're making the people around you better. You're putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be able to make an impact on the game. I certainly think DeCorian has a lot of those traits. Well, the first mistake is I don't really look at any projections, so I don't know. I'm excited to play. I'm excited to play games, but I'm not really spend a lot of time on it, at least with awareness of what other people are saying, because it doesn't matter. Yeah, he's a star. He's a star. Maybe the world doesn't know about it yet, but Kenyon Sadiq's a star, and he will be. I mean, he's a guy that we obviously had a lot of experience at that position last year with Terrence and Pat. But every week we were trying to find ways to make sure that Kenyon was a part of our game, and he made an impact in practice. He made an impact every day. It's no secret. He's put on a ton of weight. He's done some impressive stuff for us. So we get to see it every day. You guys don't necessarily get to see it every day, but you'll get to see it this season. Yeah, and again, it goes back to leading the way you feel comfortable leading. I watch a lot of Kenyon's habits, and it feels like those are habits that he's picked up from the guys that were ahead of him, in the past. Whether it's how he runs on the field, whether it's how he takes notes in the meeting room. You see that from Kenyon, and he's done an unbelievable job of absorbing what he's learned from them, and now he's on the other end of it. Now he's passing it down to younger guys.